Part 91. How could it possibly not care? Lu Xuanzhou trembled all the way back to his residence, and then locked himself in the room, attracting strange eyes from people. When it was time to greet the imperial concubine in the afternoon, Lu Xuanzhou rushed to Jinghong Hall without stopping, but when he saw that there was still no afternoon tea today, Lu Xuanzhou really wanted to cry. The emperor and the imperial concubine quarreled. Why was he the one who was injured? It's fine if he doesn't have a bed with an emperor, anyway, he doesn't want to. But why doesn't he even have what he looks forward to most for a day for my tea? Woohoo! So sad, so sad. He also ignored concubine Ling's yin and yang's eccentric sound of joy, and looked at Yi Yang resentfully throughout the whole process. After a night of self-regulation, Yi Yang's mood was obviously much better than last night. He saw that Lu Xuanzhou was always looking at him with resentful eyes, and he was a little unclear. Nothing to say. Just leave. Yi Yang saw Lu Xuanzhou's eyes, so Yi Yang's hair all over his body, and he just wanted to send Lu Xuanzhou away quickly. The other concubines stood up and walked outside. But Lu Xuanzhou was still sitting and refused to get up. After all the concubines had left, Yi Yang saw that Lu Xuanzhou still refused to leave, so he asked Xiao Doubting to send Lu Xuanzhou out. When Lu Xuanzhou saw that all the concubines had finished walking outside, he suddenly rushed towards Yi Yang. Looking at the menacing Lu Xuanzhou, Yi Yang was so frightened that he stood up and was about to run away. But Lu Xuanzhou had already rushed in front of him, and then, under his frightened expression, Lu Xuanzhou threw himself at his feet and cried out, "Brother Imperial Concubine, you can't do this. You are arguing, why are you pulling me into the water?" Ooh! Yi Yang was completely stunned, which seemed a little different from what he thought. Also, what quarrel? Seeing Lu Xuanzhou crying more and more sad, Yi Yang could only wait until Lu Xuanzhou finished crying. Lu Xuanzhou was worthy of being a crybaby, from crying on his knees to crying on his stomach, and finally threw himself into Yi Yang's arms and cried. Yi Yang's self-confident patience was completely wiped out by Lu Xuanzhou. Whoever cares about this crybaby will take it. He raised Lu Xuanzhou's back collar with a look of disgust. You're going to cry while crying. Woo-woo. Imperial concubine, you can't do this. I've been harmed by you to look like this. You have to compensate me. Where did I harm you? Yi Yang couldn't help laughing. He persuaded the emperor to soak up the rain and dew, and to choose Lu Xuanzhou. Lu Xuanzhou should be happy. But what the hell is snot and tears now? Lu Xuanzhou sobbed and wanted to tell Yi Yang that the emperor didn't come to him last night, but thinking of the emperor's cold warning this morning, he was too frightened to say it, because he believed that the emperor would definitely do what he said. He didn't want to die, he could only bear the burden in silence. Anyway, I don't care. You are the scourge of me. I want to eat marshmallows, and I have to enjoy it once. Otherwise, I will cry to death in Jinghong Hall today. Lu Xuanzhou's nose and tears flowed down his face. There is a posture of continuing to cry. To be honest, Yi Yang was very sad at first, but seeing Lu Xuanzhou's ghostly appearance made him laugh inexplicably, and his mood improved. He said boldly, "Why don't you just eat cotton candy, brother? Please eat it today." Enough. If there are chili, Yi Yang will definitely hold a barbecue party in the courtyard, and invite everyone from the West Palace to come and have a party. After sending off Lu Xuanzhou, who had eaten and drank enough, the sky was completely dark. Yi Yang just lay down after washing up. The door was pushed open from the outside. Yi Yang thought it was Xiao Doubting, and said tiredly, "Xiao Doubting, you no need to keep watch. Go to rest early tonight." But the person who came in didn't answer or leave, but walked straight towards Yi Yang's bed. Since the candles were all extinguished, Yi Yang didn't know who the other party was. He hurriedly sat up and rummaged through the firebook, but he touched the whole bed and couldn't find the firebook. Who? Yi Yang yelled at the other party. But the other party did not reply, and still walked towards him. Your Majesty? Yi Yang called tentatively. The other party still did not answer. If you don't make a sound, I'm going to start. Yi Yang grabbed the pillow beside him and threw it at him. Bang! A muffled sound hit the opponent accurately. But what kind of lethality do pillows have? It was caught by the opponent and dropped to the ground. Yi Yang panicked, and he didn't know who the other party was. Why did he come to his room? Thinking of the last time he was framed, he was about to shout for help when the other party came to his bed and pushed him down on the bed. Smelling the familiar smell of the person on his body, Yi Yang rolled his eyes and scolded, Your Majesty, don't play like this. If I threw the knife over just now, you're probably finished. You can hear my footsteps. Can't you come out? Jun Yi asked Yi Yang instead. Where can I hear this? Yi Yang retorted. He doesn't have cat ears, so how could he be able to distinguish everyone's footsteps so accurately? Prove the imperial concubine, you didn't take me to heart. Jun Yi replied with a taste. How dare I? If you don't put it in your heart, it's so sad. If you put it in your heart, I don't know what it will be like. Not getting the answer he wanted, a pain flashed in Jun Yi's eyes. He knew that Yi Yang didn't like him, but he had to confirm it again and again, and in the end, he was bruised all over. He leaned over and kissed Yi Yang's face, trying to find Yi Yang's lips, but was pushed away by Yi Yang with brute force. Although the expression on Yi Yang's face could not be seen in the dark, Jun Yi clearly felt the disgust and indifference radiating from Yi Yang's body. The sudden pain in his heart was outrageous. As if someone slashed his chest with a knife and ruthlessly plucked out his heart, causing bloody pain. This feeling made him feel at a loss. He clenched Yi Yang's arms tightly in fear. And when he was young, his mother-in-law whispered in his ear, Zhan Yu, don't be emotional, in the emperor's family should be ruthless, otherwise it will be doomed. He always kept his mother's concubine's warning in mind and did not dare to be emotional to anyone. Even when Junlin's mother died, he never shed a single tear. But the moment Yi Yang pushed him away, he actually wanted to cry. At this moment, he realized that he was in love with Yi Yang. Yi Yang's arms were clenched in pain by Jun Yi, as if they were about to be abolished. So, he struggled to push Jun Yi away from his body and scolded, You are sick, it hurts to death. Hearing Yi Yang shouting in pain, Jun Yi suddenly came back to his senses. He hurriedly hugged Yi Yang, and asked with concern, Where does it hurt? Hearing the panic in Jun Yi's tone, Yi Yang felt uncomfortable in his heart. He shook his head, but thinking of Jun Yi couldn't see it, so he said, I'm fine. Then the atmosphere fell into a strange silence, and the two sat quietly on the bed, falling into their inner world. In the end, Yi Yang couldn't stand the dull atmosphere and said, Your Majesty, it's late at night, go to sleep. Can I touch you? Jun Yi replied dully, I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I'm too tired today. I'm not in the mood. Yi Yang was lying on the innermost side and tried his best to calmly say, If the Emperor wants to, you can go to Lu Kairan's courtyard, anyway. It's still early, Lu Kairan probably haven't slept yet. Do you really not care at all? Jun Yi's voice was hoarse, trying his best to hide the trace of fear in his voice. Knowing that Yi Yang doesn't care, why'd I ask again? Don't you give up yet? How could it possibly not care? Yi Yang felt a pain in his heart, and there were a lot of things he wanted to say clearly. But when the words came to his mouth, he silently swallowed them back. He knew that as an emperor, there were 3,000 beauties in the harem. And it was impossible for him to be so lucky to be able to gather 3,000 pets in one. Therefore, with self-knowledge, he got out early before he got too deep. Why should I care? Yi Yang's voice was frivolous, but warm tears flashed from the corners of his eyes. I know. Jun Yi got out of bed with a look of loss, and left with heavy steps. After Yi Yang couldn't hear Jun Yi's footsteps, he cried out repressed. He didn't want to cry, but the pain in his heart almost swallowed him up. No matter how much he struggled, it was of no use. Heart pain in general. After crying, my mood was obviously much better. Although my eyes were a little red and swollen when I woke up in the morning, it was not obvious. Although Xiao Doubting asked worriedly, Yi Yang made a random excuse to put it off. In the next few days, Jun Yi did not go to Jinghong Hall, but would name Lu Xuanzhou every 1 or 2 days. And let Lu Xuanzhou go to Xing Chen Palace to sleep. Those who didn't know it thought that Lu Xuanzhou was favored. Every day, he went to Lu Xuanzhou's small courtyard to sit and send some gifts along the way. The flattery was obvious. Only Lu Xuanzhou knew why the emperor ordered him to serve him. It was nothing more than a small talk and he has no background at all, so he didn't dare to make trouble in the middle. When you're done using it, you can kick it away. As a tool person, Lu Xuanzhou is very conscious of a tool person, and would never dare to interfere in the relationship between the emperor and the imperial concubine. He only needs to play the role of a tool person every day, and then collect the completion money from the emperor, then go to Jinghong Palace to eat and drink. And finally return to his own nest happily to count the money. This beautiful day is simply the beautiful day he has dreamed of. However, looking at the two who broke up after arguing, Lu Xuanzhou felt that he had to take the risk and act as a peacemaker to persuade them.